Welcome to the latest episode of FC Cymru, where we are at the fantastic Crystal Palace training ground, and I'm joined by Cymru international superstar Elise Hughes. Elise, welcome to the show. Thank you very much for joining us.
No, thank you so much for having us, and welcome to the training ground.
It's great to have you. It's been a while since we've had a catch up. I think Dublin was the last time, so I'm excited to get into things and have a little tour later on. But on today's show, we'll be looking at Elise's career from grassroots to international, and of course talking about that ACL journey that you've been through. It must be amazing to be back.
Yeah, it's obviously a long journey, and it's obviously a journey that quite a few female footballer players go through now. I'm obviously lucky enough to have an amazing medical team and the facilities here to help me get through, but yeah, this was where I spent every day in the summer just to feel this moment again.
We will be hearing from the Cymru female sporting icon Lauren Price ahead of her big boxing match in March. We'll also be talking to her about her thoughts around football versus Homophobia Month. We're getting your opinion on that too, Elise. And have you been to a match yet and experienced the impressive Celtic Horn?
No, not yet. I didn't even know about it until we obviously had our conversation, but I'm looking forward to seeing it.
Well, we went to visit the impressive 12-foot horn, but more about that later. For now, I'm excited to get on a tour of this place. So, Elise, if you could show us the way.
Well, for you, anything, let's go. The hot food will be here. Say hi to the chefs. Cereal's normally on this bit though, so obviously that's the priority. And then on my way out, head to the coffee machine, straight to the meeting. Got to take the coffee to the meeting.
Number 9 shirts.
Sorry,
love to see it.
All the kits out.
Funny that they happen to be here.
Yes, this is actually how the changing room looks in the morning. Everyone just kind of comes in, sees my shirts, and then head back out. Just head straight out here to the pitches.
You've literally grown up with football in your blood, with your dad, Big Pete, playing for Connah's Quay. Was it always football that was going to be your sport, and how much of an impact has he had on your life and your career in football?
Yeah, I think obviously when I was growing up, originally it was obviously just me and my older sister, and obviously if you meet both of us, it was definitely not going to be her that played football. I think my dad thought, well, maybe one of them will play, and it definitely wasn't going to be her. Later on, obviously my brother came and he plays as well. He also plays for Connah's Quay, so I'm assuming my dad's really proud of him as well. But yeah, I've started at such a young age, but mainly just playing with my dad. He's obviously had a massive influence on like why I play and like why I still played. He took me to every game. He travelled around the country. He still does. He's got as many stamps on his passport as we have. Because he likes to come to every game. So he's been a massive influence, and he knows he's my biggest fan, and I know he is mine as well.
Yeah, it's always nice bumping into him at games and having a bit of a catch up. But your career, it started at such a young age, like coming into the Welsh team as a 16-year-old. I remember that and thinking, who's this young whippersnapper coming up to try and take my place as a centre forward? But how did it feel at that point, coming into the squad with some fairly established players that are still in there now? How did you feel making that moment?
Yeah, obviously it was a massive moment for me. It was a massive moment for my family. Like, I'm obviously very proud, like Welsh person. It's when you're younger, everything you strive to be. It was just a stage of my career where everything happened so quickly. Because I started, at a young age, but like then at a later age than most. So I didn't start playing football for a team till I was like 10. And then you talk about like 5-6 years later, I've made my first team debut for Everton, and I've also got my first senior cap. And you think in all that time, I've also like been scouted for Everton. I've also gone on 15s, 17s, 19s camps. Yeah. So it was like obviously quite a whirlwind time, but I'm quite glad it happened like that. I didn't really have time to think about what was really going on. It's only now that I reflect on all them things and I think, wow, I had such a great opportunity at such a young age, and I'm really lucky to have had spent time in the squad with such experience and great players. Obviously this is how we've ended up as mates. Even if I was a centre forward coming in at the time, obviously then I ended up playing every position.
I was going to say, you in that first few years, you must have played in every position apart from in goal, and I expect you probably would have done all right there too. But I mean, that point of your career was going really well, but nothing in football is ever plain sailing, and having the absolute season of your life, once you nailed down the fact that you wanted to be a centre forward and that was where you're going to be best on the pitch. Absolutely flying here for Palace, top scorer in the division, golden boot. scoring a couple against Kosovo, and then bang, the dreaded 3 words, or 3 letters I should say, ACL. How did that feel?
Yeah, I feel like because it's so common in the women's game, you know how bad it's going to be. It's just that you never think it's going to happen to you. So for so long I was always quite empathetic and like sympathetic to people that had done it, but I never understood how they felt. And to be honest, I didn't want to understand how they felt. So the first thing I did once I did mine was I started speaking to the girls in and around teams that I've been in, and I almost was apologetic. I almost said, I'm so sorry that as a team or like as a teammate, I wasn't there for you more, because now I understand how bad it is, and all you wanted was more people to understand like how you felt on certain days.
And did you know when you did it? Like, what was that feeling on the pitch in that moment? Were you scared straight away? And then obviously once the actual diagnosis comes, did that change how you felt instantly? Or
I felt, obviously I was in a really unique situation in terms of the same day we on a technicality won the league, I've also done ACL. At the moment I was involved in the tackle, I knew it was bad. So I stood back up and carried on playing for 10 minutes.
On the side, I saw that,
I carried on playing for 10 minutes and one of my teammates scores. And I remember thinking, like, I think we're going to win the game now. And obviously it was a really important game that we needed to win the league. And I thought, and am I doing the best thing for the team now? And I go in and at half time, this was before I was going at half time, and I just burst into tears. And I was like, I think this is so bad. But again, the unique situation I ended up being in was that we were at the end of the game, we were celebrating. And the week that we had was so up and down for me as a roller coaster, because it was like we potentially won the league with the 22 goal difference that we had. And
how many of them are down to you, by the way?
And then on the Monday I've got a scan to find out on the Monday night that obviously not just my season was over, because there was only 1 game left anyway, but my next 9 months, 9 to 10, 12, however long it was going to take
for both club and country.
For both club and country was now going to be over. It was obviously really tough to take, and the few weeks, like I didn't really reflect on it until later on, but the few weeks was such a roller coaster of a ride for me, because it was, you've won the league, you've done your ACL, like you've won all the individual awards that you won in terms of Golden Boot, Player of the Season, then you have your operation, do you know what I mean? And then it's like learning to walk again, and it was like, it was really difficult, and I don't really know how I came to terms with it at the time, but it's happened now and I'm at the end of it, so it just kind of happened like that.
And are there certain things throughout that recovery that, I don't know if you'd call them milestones, or things that you've got to hit, markers along the way? What ones really stand out for you in that journey?
Yeah, obviously as soon as the season finished, I knew that I haven't got a holiday anymore, even though it's been like the longest, most demanding on my mental and physical state that it was going to be. And then now my summer's also now been taken away from me, because I've got like these 3 months where they're the most important of the rehab process. I know that now as well. It almost felt like a great time that I then had like one-on-one support just from my physio, because no one else is here, everyone else is doing their own thing. It was just me and my physio for like May, June, July, and we smashed it out.
But you are very much at the back end of that journey, which is amazing for everyone to see. You have got a good chunk of the WSL left to go. You excited about that?
Well, that's the thing. So obviously when the team got promoted, I was like, well, I want to play as much part of the WSL as I can. And then little things along the way then obviously motivate me even more. And I say little things, but it's like the massive summer that Wales have got ahead. So I'm thinking, you can't not be motivated as a player coming back from injury when your team's now in the top flight and your country's now going to a major tournament. I'm thinking it's actually perfect time for me to return. I've got the last stretch of the season, and then hopefully a busy football in summer as well.
Fingers crossed. I mean, we obviously spent a couple of days in Dublin together for that magical night in the playoff final. What would it mean to you to be in that squad ready for that first game against the Dutch?
Obviously everything, and now more than ever, is not that I was ever taking anything for granted before, but now when you suffer such a setback at such a stage of like my career that I was in terms of like breaking through into that starting team and like performing the way I did last year, now I'm obviously more ambitious and more excited and raring to go than ever, because of the fact that that's just been taken away from me for the last 8-9 months.
Well, I for one cannot wait to see you back in the red shirt of Wales, and fingers crossed for the summer. Now, on March the 7th, Cymru boxing star Lauren Price takes on her biggest challenge to date as she heads to the Royal Albert Hall to face Natasha Jonas, who become the undisputed welterweight champion of the world. She's also my former Cymru international teammate, and we caught up with her ahead of the big fight.
Hi, I'm Lauren Price, Olympic champion, IBO, WBA and Ring Magazine world champion, and former Cymru international football player. Fighting Natasha Jonas for the unified division means that I'll have 5 belts out of 6. Obviously, massive fight, both British rivals. Jonas is a big name in boxing, what she's achieved in the sport already. By me, obviously boxing her on March the 7th, I believe I win, and it puts me up there to even a bigger name. Walking into the Royal Albert Hall give me goosebumps, and I can't wait to come out on March the 7th and hear that crowd cheer me on. For me, obviously boxing in Cardiff in May was one of the best nights of my life. Coming out in front of my own fans, standing at the top of that ramp, you know, hearing them cheer my name and support me. I'll remember the night for the rest of my life. Obviously becoming Wales' first ever female world champion is another, you know, box ticked off of making history. I've made history a few times, and yeah, a very proud moment in my career. Yeah, obviously being a role model and ambassador for LGBTQ+. Obviously I've always been, you know, supported by the community, supported, you know, through the sport I'm in as well, being in Sheffield in GB boxing. Doesn't matter about my sexuality, I've always been, you know, supported in that area. Social media these days can be a great thing, but also, you know, you get, well, I've experienced it myself on getting called, you know, certain things which I wouldn't really go into. You know, I come out gay when I was 13, and the people closest to me, my family, my friends, my loved ones, as long as they support me, then that's all that matters. Yeah, making my debut, I remember I was 14 years of age and I made my debut under 19s. I remember playing against, I think it was Belgium at the time, played alongside Nia Jones. Bit of a mad story, obviously we went to the Commonwealth Games together as well, me as boxing, her as netball. And then obviously my senior debut, I was 16, playing, and you know, with the likes of Jess Fishlock, Sophie Ingle, Haz, yeah, obviously playing with some top names. You know, as a small nation, it's crazy because I remember being on the team and playing against the likes of like Holland, France, Sweden, who, you know, when they were in school, they were, you know, meeting up every day, training 2 hours a day, whereas Wales would meet up like once every 3 months. So yeah, to see like how far we've come, I think it's massive. But you look at, you know, football all around, you know, you look at England in the Euros as well, selling out Wembley, Wales now qualifying, it's on the uprise.
Well, good luck to the fantastic Lauren Price. We hope you do so well and bring it home. And thank you very much for talking so candidly about what Football v Homophobia Month means to you. And Elise, you've been very proactive in the past about your experiences. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, obviously a few years back, me and Lily Woodham did a video together, and obviously it was the first time that I've ever done something like that. I think Lily too. We was obviously a lot younger, but we felt like it was a safe space, and as younger players coming through, I think that was the most important thing. We both discussed how it wasn't something that we've been subject to, as in the homophobia part of football, and we're in a lucky environment now that every team we've been involved in, if that's internationally or domestically, that we felt comfortable enough to be ourselves, and we hope that that's the same moving forward as well for every girl and every boy that plays football.
Well, it's good to hear that you haven't experienced too much homophobia yourself, but is there any advice you'd give to anyone that is on that journey and is maybe thinking about how or when to come out themselves?
I think obviously it's a journey that's quite personal. It's something that is up to you and your closest support network. I would always recommend obviously going to your closest support network first, but just always remember that it should be a safe space, and if it isn't, then talk, then speak to the nearest people to you, if that's staff members or your family, friends. Like, I would always recommend that you should find someone that you feel safe with to have them more in-depth conversations. But I'll always say that it was just quite easy for me in terms of like how supportive my family, friends were. I hope that it is on that trajectory that everyone had it as easy as me and Lily Woodham.
And you are a role model in many ways, and you are now giving back to your community in lots of different ways. One in particular, up at Connors Quay again, and doing some coaching with them. How has that come about, and how does it feel being that sort of focal point in your community?
It was because obviously my brother plays for Connors Quay, so that was how I first got involved with them. They're my local team, the local like Cymru academy, and I always wanted to be involved in other aspects of football because I'm so obsessed with it. So it's not always just playing, it was then like, how can I be involved in other aspects, and then it fell into coaching. The country is quite self-dominated in the fact that a lot of the talent comes through the south. And I just wanted the north to have the same opportunities, and I think Connors Quay really bought into that. Connors Quay was quite dominated in boys football and men's football at the time, and then I was the first female staff member there, and I think it shine light on the fact that women play football as well. Now there's hundreds and hundreds of girls that train there every week, and they've got obviously the 19s scholarship programme and now the women's team.
And do you try and pop in when you're back home?
Yeah, he knows, he's always asking me, he's always like, so you coming? And I'm just like, yeah, I've also got to see my mum and dad, my brother, sister, nan and granddad. I was like, but yeah, I'll hop into Connors Quay, and I always say put the kettle on, and then I see the boys' side because I started with them, and I also see the girls.
Obviously there is a big game coming up in Wrexham. The women's team are going up to the racecourse to face Sweden in the opening home fixture of the Nations League. How are you feeling about that, and how is it to take the team up north? Obviously we saw it last year, doing it again this year. How does that feel?
That was the first time for me personally that I'd played at the racecourse, so it was a really nice experience. I think it was also nice because it was the first time that I'd had like the majority of my family members be at an international game.
Not just Big Pete.
Yeah, not just Big Pete travelling down, because obviously all of the games have been down south in my international career, that now it's really nice that when we do come up north, that's why I do enjoy playing at Wrexham at the racecourse, just because all my family can come, and that's not really an experience that I've ever had with majority of the games being down south. So it's nice that we now travel the country a bit more in terms of north games, south games, in terms of Cardiff, Swansea, Wrexham. We've obviously played multiple games at Newport, so it's nice that we're now travelling the country a bit more. I think it keeps the fans more engaged in the women's team.
100%. So the game at the racecourse has the potential to see the infamous Celtic Horn, and we went to catch up with the man behind the horn.
Well, it's a very tall horn with sort of wings at the top, so it's very Celtic. So I suppose if you look watching Asterix the goal, you might get an idea what it looks like. It looks the part.
I never knew what a Celtic war horn was until I saw the story that Dave Owens from Nation Cymru wrote a couple of summers ago. It was at a festival, somebody took the shots on their phones, and doing a bit of research found out that it was an instrument or some sort of part of Celtic warfare.
I mean, if you were a Romans legionnaire wandering through the middle of Wales and some bloke's got a war horn with him, you think, what else have they got?
When the Celts used to defend themselves in the villages or in the areas that they lived, they could hide in the trees and put out this noise, then it would intimidate and frighten the invaders, really. So the idea was to turn that into something that we could use as a Celtic nation at our games to scare off the invading hordes, I guess.
My role in this escapade was the fact that, I mean, I picked up on social media that Dave Owens at Nation Cymru had picked up about Celtic Horn being used in Celtic Music Festival, and then bounced it on then to Dave Driscoll, who does our stuff with Arena, does our pre-match event, the bands, the anthem. Is it practical?
The first idea was to find somebody to make it, which we did in Belgium, and then reaching out to the guy and telling him we want to make this for an international football match. Next
port of call is as I go meet the players. It wasn't a long conversation. It was like, you know, as I said, the trust is there to go, let's go off and do it. I think the frustration was, is that we didn't have it straight away. It took a while to come through to us.
Because of Brexit, and it called it Celtic Horn, getting it made was an achievement, but actually getting it back into the UK was even harder. But I guess it just landed at the right time for Craig's arrival. It's another thing that we can use to bring the fans together and our heritage together. Then we put the Celtic Horn on the pitch with Howell from the Barry Horns.
To be fair, he was part of the idea because he was one of the ones on the social media saying this is something we could do. So we've delivered it to him, and he's got to do it then in front of 30,000 people.
I have been playing it since about October last year, so just a few months now. Which, coming from a background of playing the trumpet, is kind of a tough transition, but it's been really fun learning. So I made a debut at the Iceland game where we had one of our most fun and comfortable wins in a long time.
The first time I think I was just too nervous. Was it going to work? Because ultimately it's got to work in the context of a stadium.
I mean, I'd say probably nothing in my life had really prepared me for that moment. It's it felt huge. It's a big crowd here, international TV.
But then we used it for the women's game afterwards. All of a sudden I think, oh, this is interesting now.
I think that we always seem to play better in those summer months, and when we've got the sun just disappearing over the edges of the stadium, it's nice and warm, this thing will blow everyone away.
So we want teams to come to us, for them to realise that this is our heritage, this is who we are. It's a cultural journey, really.
Well, there we have it. I'm not sure what will be more terrifying, playing your first international football match or playing a 12-foot horn. But we have come to the end of this episode. I want to say thank you to you, Elise. You're a true inspiration, and we wish you all the best for an exciting year ahead.
Oh, that was lovely. But no, I'm really glad you came down, and I'm really glad you got a tour around the facility and we got to catch up.
Yes, and thank you to Crystal Palace for having us here today. It's been fantastic to see their facilities, and we of course wish you all the best in the WSL and ahead to the Euros in the summer with Cymru. And if you haven't already checked out the other episodes we have on Red Bull Plus, please do so now.